Hi everyone, welcome to another webisode of The Good Doctor on eZeLiving.com. Today I'm in the company of Dr. Carol Smiley from Healthily Polyclinic. And today's topic of conversation, Dr. Carol, it's going to be about stress.
It is, yes.
First question that I think that we need to clarify for our audience is, what is stress?
Stress is really part of everyday living. I mean, we've all got hassles in our life, people make demands on us. But stress is actually a normal physiological response. It's your body's way of protecting you. What happens is that when we're in a situation when we feel threatened or feel very uncomfortable with, our body responds by preparing us for this. It's an automatic rapid response, and it prepares us for what we call the fight or flight or stress response. And what happens is that the body pours out a big pile of hormones, mainly sort of cortisol and adrenaline. And what these hormones do is they prepare your body for a dangerous situation, so that your heart rate fastens, it speeds up, you start to breathe a bit faster, your muscles tighten up, and your senses sharpen, really. And all this is it's a physiological reaction that comes back from way before the caveman times. A big hairy mammoth was coming towards us. And what this does, it allows us to either fight or to flee from the difficult situation. But of course nowadays it's not always a physical response like that. In that stress, we can have lots of stresses in our lives, an argument with somebody, stuck in a traffic jam. Our body can't distinguish between these different stresses, and so we get the same response. Now in small amounts, stress is actually good for us because it helps us in these difficult situations. When you're, say, preparing for an exam, the stress will up your level so that you can compete in a sports event or something like that. But when it becomes too much, when we have too much stress, it then becomes a problem because it affects our mind, it affects our body, it affects our behavior, and that's where all the modern stressors come in. When people say they're stressed out, this is not. This is an ongoing situation often where people are in a high stress mode the whole time. Their whole body is in emergency mode the whole time, and it takes its toll.
So Dr. Carol, stress, as you said, is good sometimes,
yes,
but not all the times.
Yes.
So let's talk about what stress does to our body, the side effects.
When people are under too much stress, and that varies from person to person. Some people cope with what seems like overwhelming amounts of stress and don't seem to have any problems with it, and other people crumple with just what seems like a very small amount of stress. So our responses are very individual, and almost anything can happen. People can, obviously things like blood pressure can go up, the medical problems, blood pressure can go up, autoimmune conditions can get worse, skin conditions like eczema can get worse.
So when you're under stress, your immune system drops?
Yes.
So when my immune system is down, and I'm under stress, does that mean, for example, I'm more susceptible to catching the flu a lot more?
Yes, we believe it is. So often people will come in, they're under a lot of stress, they'll come in, they've got common cold after common cold after common cold, you know. So basically, most medical illnesses that people suffer from will get worse when they're under stress, okay? But this chronic effect of stress can lead to a number of things, often behavioural problems, moodiness, irritability, snapping at your partner, sometimes physical, beating, this sort of thing, poor judgment, then people start trying to compensate by eating more or eating less, sleeping more, sleeping less, abusing cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, in a way to try and combat this stress.
Are we more susceptible to becoming obese as a result of stress?
Probably, because a lot of people comfort eat. And so comfort eating is one way that some people find out of stress, in the same way that another person might constantly smoke or constantly have a bottle of whiskey by their side.
Sure.
So comfort eating is certainly one of the stress reactions, yeah.
Are there physical signs that you can see that someone is under stress?
Yes. Well, one of the things would be overventilation, hyperventilating. So people breathe rapidly. So if you see somebody that's hyperventilating, you wonder if they're under stress. They may get dryness of the mouth. Some people flush when they feel very, very stressed. So these sort of things.
What about fainting? Does that occur? Passing out?
Yes, it can do this. I actually read a very interesting analogy on stress, and it's a driving analogy that I think is quite good. That some people, if they put their foot on the brake, they are slowing down, they're not showing emotions when they're stressed, they're withdrawing. If you put your foot on your accelerator, you're agitated. This is when people are overwhelmed with stress. They're agitated, they're not fully in control of their emotions. And the third one is when people have got the foot on the accelerator and the brake at the same time. And those are people that sort of freeze, they don't know what to do. And in that, certainly sort of some people could faint in that instance. They just don't know what to do.
Right.
They procrastinate, they don't get things done when they're under stress.
How many times a day is it okay to be under stress?
Now that's a difficult one, because again it depends on your own particular stress response. If you're stressed all of the time, that's probably not very good to have an emergency mode, because it becomes a norm for you.
Right.
And you just don't realise how much stress is creeping up on you. It can affect your relationships, it can affect work, etc.
If we put it in tangible senses, what are some of the elements that causes modern day stress? Obsessing about money, does that cause stress? Worrying about children all the time, does that cause stress? Worrying about work, job security, obviously those things cause stress.
They do. So these are all external influences, and these all are very well-known stressors. You know, you've got a poor marriage, that stresses you as well. There are also internal stressors, and so worrying about things that will never happen is a common cause of stress, or some irrational beliefs that they're never going to actually happen as well.
Right.
That can certainly cause a lot of stress. But also we tend to think of stressors as negative things, but also positive events can cause stress, like getting married or preparing to go on holiday or a job promotion. They can also cause stress as well. And there are ways of adapting to try and deal with these.
So let's talk about some of the things that we can do that would reduce our stress.
The 4 A's really are what I try to tell people about. Try and avoid as much stress as possible. So learn how to say no. If you're being overwhelmed by a lot of people asking you to do things, learn how to say no. Try and work out what you have to do and what you can just put aside on your to-do list. If you can avoid situations you know will cause you stress, or avoid people that you know cause stress, that will eliminate a lot of life stresses during the day-to-day living. Okay.
Sure.
So that's the avoidance. The second one really is adapting. If you can't change the stressor, then try and adapt the situation a little bit, or adjust the situation a little bit. So if you're in a very difficult situation, tell colleagues about it, tell people that you're finding this stressful, try and meet in some sort of common ground so that you're actually adjusting the situation. Third one is adapting yourself. If you cannot avoid the stressors, you cannot adjust the stressors, then adapt yourself. Have a look at your lifestyle, have a look at what you can change in yourself, look at what is positive in your life, have a look at, just keep the bigger picture in mind. Is it really worth getting stressed about this?
That's a good point.
And the fourth one is learning how to accept it. We all are in situations sometimes where there's a stressful situation, we cannot change it. And so learning how to accept that some things we cannot change, rather than continually battling, trying to change it, that will cause you more stress. If you're feeling overwhelmed with stress, 4 things you should probably think about. One is set aside some time for relaxation. Yoga, meditation, sitting reading a quiet book, something like that. That will help. Exercise, physical exercise is marvellous for either preventing stress, or aerobic exercise will just really help release pent-up stress and tension. Okay. Thirdly, certainly eating healthily. Have a healthy breakfast. Avoid too much caffeine, sugars, cigarettes, alcohol. And the sort of, instead of having your coffee in the morning, have something like a herbal tea that's got less caffeine in it. That may be very helpful. And the 4th thing is try and get as much rest as possible. Sleep well. We all feel so much better if we've had a good night's sleep.
So how many hours do you recommend?
Well, I try to get 8 hours a night,
Okay.
but we're all different. We all know if we've had enough sleep. If you're not getting enough sleep, you wake up and you feel tired, try and get a bit more sleep.
Let your body do the talking.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Carol, for this information. I thought this was very informative. If you guys have any questions or comments regarding stress, or if you have any questions you'd like to ask Dr. Carol, please leave them in the comments section down below. Thanks for watching The Good Doctor on eZeLiving.com, where you can find anything and everything lifestyle.